Hajime is a powerless, auraless, and maidenless high schooler who gets bullied all the time for being weak. One day, his entire class gets summoned to become heroes and save the kingdom of Tortoise. But even in this world, Hajime remains a loser, because while his classmates all got legendary skills and abilities, all he got was transmutation. So the best he can do is move rocks. One day, as the class ventures into the labyrinth to train, Hajime tries to fend off a monster, but he lacks the sword skills to do so, so he ends up needing to be saved by a Managawa who beheads it in one swing. Hiyama comes over just to mock Hajime for being useless, but then he gets pissed because everyone else actually cares about Hajime even though he's weak. It's almost like they like him because he's a good person, something Hiyama wouldn't understand. Anyway, a Managawa's strike revealed some crystals hidden in the wall, and Meld recognizes them as Gland's crystals, which are really valuable. But it's strange to find such a large cluster of stones, so he tells everyone to stay away from it until he checks if it's safe. But of course, Hiyama's monkey brain completely ignores the warning and goes for the shiny stone, triggering a trap that teleports everyone to a boss battle room. Meld immediately realizes that the situation is bad and he knows they stand no chance of surviving, so he yells for everyone to get to the staircase as soon as they can while he and the guards hold off the monsters. They do their best to keep the monster back with a barrier, but the behemoth is too strong, so it breaks through with ease and nearly causes the bridge they are on to collapse. If the bridge collapsed, everyone here would have fallen to their death, but Hajime comes in clutch and uses his transmute skill to keep the bridge standing and slow the behemoth down, but it won't last for long, so he urges everyone to run away while they still can. Thanks to him, all of his classmates were able to make it off the bridge safely, but the behemoth is starting to break through Hajime's rocks, so Captain Meld tells everyone to cast spells to buy Hajime enough time to escape. They all do as instructed, and Hajime starts running to get off the bridge, but just when it looked like he was going to be alright, one of the blasts from Hiyama heads straight towards him, and Hajime is sent falling to his doom while his classmates look on in horror. Hajime manages to survive the fall, but he is now deep inside the labyrinth, so he tries to find his way out before he runs into a terrifying monster. Unfortunately, he immediately runs into this bunny, and although at first it didn't look that dangerous after seeing it fight, Hajime is terrified for his life. He tries sneaking away before he gets spotted, but he accidentally trips, alerting the bunny to his presence. The bunny is about to kill him, but then it senses something even more terrifying and it doesn't want to stick around to find out. Unfortunately for the bunny, it got caught and was eaten almost instantly by a giant bear monster, and after taking care of the bunny, it sets its sights on Hajime. Hajime tries his best to flee, but the bear manages to slash off one of his arms, and then it proceeds to eat Hajime's arm right in front of him to be extra disrespectful. Hajime desperately tries to crawl away, but he ends up backed against a wall with nowhere to go. But then, as his life was flashing before his eyes, all of his years of Minecraft come back, so he starts digging down with his skill to hide in a hole. The bear keeps chasing after him, so Hajime frantically places blocks to slow it down as he goes further into his hole. Eventually, he manages to break through to a connected cave, but even if he managed to escape the bear for now, he is still missing an arm and starving, so he won't last much longer. The only reason he is still alive is because he got lucky and found a monocrystal that naturally produces holy water with healing properties, but Hajime's body is still in so much pain that he wants to die and end his suffering already. His mind starts racing to find someone to blame for his situation in his dying moments. He remembers how one of the blasts from his classmates was aimed at him instead of the monster, and it looked really deliberate, but Hajime can't think of anyone who would want to kill him. Just then, Jerk's stupid face flashes before Hajime's eyes, and he realizes Jerk must have been the one who tried to kill him. He recalls that Kaori had warned him to not go on this mission the night before because she had a dream that something bad would happen to him, and now he's wishing he had listened to her. He knows no one is going to come save him, but he doesn't understand why he of all people has to suffer like this. First, he was brought to this world against his will, and now he has been betrayed by his classmates and left to fend for himself against these terrifying monsters. This is where Hajime finally snaps because he swears to himself that he will make it home no matter what, and anything or anyone who gets in his way will be killed. He's going to do whatever it takes to survive, and the first thing on the agenda is his food situation, so he decides to do some hunting. He goes outside and taunts two wolf monsters to trick them into chasing him. His plan works, and the two wolves end up following him all the way down through the cave, but they don't see the trap Hajime made and fall straight into a hole, after which Hajime proceeds to pummel them with rocks like a madman until they die. It's not the most elegant method, but it got the job done, so he begins eating and it tastes absolutely terrible. But even worse, he starts experiencing excruciating pain as the cells from the wolf meat start messing with his DNA. Hajime bends over and worries that this monster meat might be deadly, but then his body starts undergoing violent changes. Normally this would have killed any human, but thanks to the holy water, Hajime managed to survive the ordeal, and his body feels a lot lighter than it used to. He gets up and looks at his reflection only to find that his hair has turned white and his eyes are now red. As a result of his mutation, he now possesses a new mana manipulation skill, as well as the skill lightning field that the wolves possessed. He can't use it as well as the wolves could, but he can still create enough electricity to cook the rest of his meat with it. And it still smells awful, but at least he won't have to eat it raw anymore. The extra skills he got now allow him to appraise a rock simply by touching it, and after searching around a little, he finds something called a blast rock. It can be ground up and will cause an explosion if heat is applied, so Hajime believes he can craft a good weapon out of this. A weapon would make battles here a lot easier, so he immediately gets to work designing a gun with the blast rocks he found. He uses transmutation to form a gun barrel out of hard Tor rocks, and by filling bullets with the explosive blast rocks and accelerating them with his lightning skill, he is able to create a gun with high-powered explosive rounds, allowing him to easily defeat monsters like that rabbit from before. He then drags the rabbit corpse back to his cave and starts eating, but monster meat still tastes terrible. On the bright side, it did increase his level and granted him new skills like quick step and aerodynamics for extra mobility. With this, he is confident that he is strong enough to defeat any monsters, and he's got a grudge he needs to settle. He heads back to the area where the bear that ate his arm is, and as soon as he spots it, he uses aerodynamics to jump into the air and fires at the bear. Unfortunately, the bear manages to counter and knocks him down, leaving Hajime injured. But while this may look bad, Hajime made something special for a situation like this. He pulls out a flash grenade and throws it straight in the bear's face, resulting in a blinding flash of light. And while the bear is blinded, he gets some payback by shooting one of its arms off and chomping down on it to assert dominance, after which he puts a bullet through the bear's head to finally claim his victory. After eating as many beasts as possible, Hajime is now so strong that he can't level up from eating the monsters in this area anymore, but he still can't find a way up, so instead he decides to go down to find an exit. He recalls that this labyrinth is meant to have 100 levels, but there aren't exactly any signs around here, so he has no idea how long it will take him to reach the bottom. He begins mining his way down and soon stumbles upon a cave. But as soon as he turns his lamp on, he locks eyes with a lizard, and one look from it makes Hajime rock hard. He ducks behind a boulder and tries to slow down the petrification process with a potion, but the lizard is still coming after him, so he has to think quickly. As the lizard climbs over the rock, Hajime throws a small bottle at it, and the lizard gets its vision privileges revoked. And now that it is blind, it's an easy target for Hajime to gun down. Hajime keeps making his way through the labyrinth while slowly building his aura with each new monster meal. But while he's doing that, his classmates return from the kingdom to report what happened to the king, and Meld explains to the king that things didn't go as planned. Because Hiyama couldn't keep his grubby mitts to himself, they ended up getting teleported down to the 65th floor. It's a miracle they managed to survive the incident at all, but unfortunately, one of the heroes, Hajime Naguma, wasn't so lucky. Word of Hajime's death has already begun to spread, and it's bad press for the kingdom, so the king orders Meld to act like this never happened. And the same goes for all the other heroes. Shizuka feels terrible about what happened, so she heads out into the courtyard to take her mind off it. But while training, Shizuka notices Hiyama in the courtyard, and he seems really nervous, almost like he did something and is worried he's going to get caught. She recalls how back on Earth, Hiyama was constantly picking on Hajime, and now that she thinks about it, he was probably jealous of all the attention Kaori gave Hajime instead of him, so she briefly considers the possibility that Hiyama was the one who blasted Hajime. But she doesn't think that's possible since no one would be petty or stupid enough to kill their classmate over a crush. Right. Shizuka then goes to Kaori's room to see how she's doing, and Kaori finally wakes up from her coma. She has been unconscious for 5 days, so her memory is a little fuzzy, and all she can remember is the fact that they were fighting in the labyrinth. She asks Shizuka if Hajime is alright, but Shizuka doesn't say a word, and that silence tells her everything she needs to know. Kaori realizes that Hajime didn't make it back with them, and she is devastated and can't believe her dear friend is really gone. Meanwhile, Hajime is still trying to make his way through the labyrinth, and he still has no idea how long it will take for him to reach the bottom. But those doors look pretty promising, so he makes some more bullets for himself and gets ready to head in. Unfortunately, he has no idea how to open the door. He tries using transmute to see if he can just mine his way through the door, but he gets repelled, and all of a sudden, the statues next to the door come to life. Hajime saw this coming, and he's not about to let himself get jumped, so he shoots one in the head and kills it instantly. He then squares off against the second one, but when he tries to shoot it, his bullets have no effect whatsoever. The Cyclops seems to be using some sort of defensive magic to protect itself against Hajime's bullets, but fortunately, Hajime has the perfect strategy for getting through a magic barrier. He continuously fires at the Cyclops' barrier until it eventually shatters, making it an easy target and allowing Hajime to shoot it in the eye. And now that that's done, Hajime gets ready to see what's so important that it required 2 Cyclopses to guard it. He cuts the Cyclopses open and finds 2 mana stones in them, and he figures out that it has something to do with the door. So he puts the mana stones in the door and it unlocks it, revealing a glowing cube in the middle of the room. As the glow of the cube dims, it reveals a cute girl trapped within it, but this smells like a trap, so Hajime goes nope and turns around to walk out the door. The girl pleads with him to wait and asks for his help, but Hajime isn't an idiot, so he knows normal people don't end up trapped in a glowing cube deep in a labyrinth. He assumes she probably did something terrible to deserve a punishment like this, but the girl tells him he's wrong. She's trapped here because she was betrayed. Hearing the word betrayal strikes a chord with Hajime, so he suddenly cares about the girl's situation a lot more and asks her to explain what happened to her. Even if she was betrayed, it seems like overkill for someone to lock her all the way down here. The girl explains that she is vampire royalty and she was born with incredible power, which she always used for the good of her people. However, one day her ministers told her she was no longer needed, and they would be ruling the kingdom in her place. The girl was honestly fine with handing over control of the kingdom peacefully, but her ministers feared her power, and they physically couldn't kill her, so they decided to lock her away in this box. Hajime asks what she means by they couldn't kill her, so the girl explains that one of her abilities allows her to heal incredibly fast, so most physical damage is meaningless to her. And her second ability allows her to manipulate mana without needing a magic circle, so Hajime can see why she was so feared. In any case, he's emotionally invested now, so he decides to free her from her prison. He places his hand on the box and attempts to use transmute to break it down. It's not an easy job, and the old Hajime never could have managed it, but with his current strength, he keeps going until the box eventually disintegrates, releasing the girl from her prison. Now that she's free, Hajime asks her if she has a name, but the girl has no need for the name given to her by the people who betrayed her, so she asks Hajime to give her a new name, and he decides to call her Yui, because seeing her reminded him of the moon. Yui is really happy about her new name, so she jumps into Hajime's arms to thank him, but things have been going too well for him, so something was bound to go wrong at some point, and that's when several spikes are shot at him from the shadows, leaving Hajime severely wounded. The Yuis help the spikes are removed from Hajime's back. He hands her the bear pelt to cover up as the new duo faces up against their first enemy, a giant scorpion beast blocking their exit. He showers the scorpion with bullets, but its shell is too thick to be damaged. As Hajime pauses to think of a method to bypass its shell, Yui jumps off his back and bites his neck for blood. Her actions startle him, but he doesn't doubt her choice, so he uses his magic to mold a wall to buy her time as the scorpion uses the same magic to try and force its way through. All juiced up Yui casts an azure blaze which inflicts damage to its shell, but not enough to kill it. A second coordinated attack with Hajime on the top side of the scorpion's shell breaches it and fatally strikes the beast, celebrating their victory. The two bond over a campfire with some scorpion kebabs. Here, Yui is informed that all the vampires were eradicated 300 years ago. She shares that the labyrinth was built by beings called Mavericks, who rebelled against their gods and wanted to destroy the world but failed and flood into these labyrinths and are said to be hiding at the very bottom level. Their destination was now clear. The Maverick at the bottom held the key out using the scorpion shell. Hajime created high-caliber bullets for a railgun he crafted and named Schliegen. Surprised by all the foreign concepts this man is spouting, she asks about his side of the story. The two journey deeper as he tells her of the events that transpired. Thus far saddened by her tale, his goal of returning home made her even sadder. Yui had nowhere to call home. Seeing how she reacted, Hajime invited her to join him on this journey, which she accepts without hesitation. Back at the kingdom, led by the level 50 classmate Amanagawa, the party prepares for another venture into the labyrinth. Meanwhile, Hajime and Yui flee from a horde of seemingly endless T-Rex with a peculiar flower on their head that leads the two to believe that the monsters are controlled by parasitic hive mind. They manage to break the line of sight and escape temporarily to begin their search for the hive mind, keen on hunting them down. Along the way, Yui doesn't hesitate to take several sips from Hajime's neck. They approach an entrance that the dinosaurs protected feverishly, which leads them to believe that their target is close. Inside the cave, green spores are carried by the wind. All of a sudden, Yui loses control of her body and begins attacking Hajime as a flower sprouts atop her head. A humanoid spore creature resembling a human female takes cover behind Yui and by using her, shoots at Hajime with magic, opening him up for the spores. The monster celebrates her victory as a flower sprouts atop Hajime's head. However, the immunity he gained by devouring all those beasts kept him in control as the flower wilted, but the monster still uses Yui as cover, so the stalemate continues. Yui regretfully asks Hajime to shoot, who takes no time to hesitate and slays the beast with 2 bullets. His lack of tact awards him with her angry punches. The two rest at a campfire as Hajime eats the slain monster and Yui removes her clothes for no reason other than to sip more of Hajime's blood. The two journey deeper into the labyrinth and finally reach the door into the Maverick's chamber. Behind the door is a huge room decorated with large crystal columns on the sides leading to a second door. As they make their way through the door, an enormous summoning circle appears and summons a massive Hydra that stands between them and their goal. Each Hydra head bears a unique color and magic corresponding to its color. The duo keeps up with the assault, but soon realizes that all their damage is negated by the White Hydra's healing magic. Hajime and Yui attempt to focus their attack, but the other heads notice and stand in between them, protecting the white head from harm. Hajime draws the Hydra's attacks, giving Yui a chance to shoot a powerful spell of the healer. However, her attack is blocked by the yellow head specialized in defense. After her failed attack, the Black Hydra head uses illusionary magic to make Yui believe that she is once again sealed and Hajime has abandoned her. Her screams cause Hajime to grab her and disengage. Yui snaps out of it and tells Hajime what she has seen. He then kisses Yui for the first time and reassures her they will win this fight and make it to the surface and back home together no matter what. They bond now stronger than ever. They hatch an attack plan to defeat the monster. Yui distracts the beast using powerful magic while Hajime grabs Schlegen and shoots a devastating beam that destroys all but the blue, red, and green heads. Without their healer, they now stand no chance against Yui's heavenly blaze, which eradicates the beast, or so they believed. A final silver head appears and targets Yui. Hajime jumps in and tanks the blast using his rifle and as much defensive magic as he can. The smoke settles and the rifle disintegrates. While Hajime falls unconscious to the ground, Yui grabs him and creates a barrier protecting them from the ensuing attacks. She manages to pull him far enough and give him all the holy crystal water she can find, but he still won't wake up. She grabs Hajime's gun and rushes off to face the beast herself, but the bullets fail to penetrate the beast's hide. Blasts her down as well. Her cries for Hajime do not fall on deaf ears. Hajime grabs Yui and carries her away from danger. The last attack he took cost him his eye, but he has grown noticeably stronger, and to protect his new lover, he got an immense rage that got him back on his feet to save his partner and fell the monster. They coordinate an attack where Hajime drops the ceiling on the Hydra and transmutes it into a conductive cage, while Yui shoots an azure blaze which is amplified by the trap surrounding the beast. It perishes under their combined force as the two lovers find a moment to rest. Meanwhile, the party headed by Amanagawa makes its way through the labyrinth, once more oblivious to their classmates' survival. All except Kore, who can still sense that Hajime has survived. Bandaged but at full capacity, Hajime wakes up with a strange, soft sensation in his palm. To his surprise, he finds himself in a bed with Yui inside a gazebo surrounded by a forest. He lets go of her cheeks and electrocutes her into waking up. Noticing his well-being, Yui celebrates and hugs Hajime with tearful eyes. After he's caught up about how Yui patched him up, they realize they are now in the Maverick's domain. They fetch some clothes and make their way to a mansion standing alone in the woodland scenery. An illusionary sky mimics daytime and nighttime above them. The couple make their way into the building and find many rooms sealed off. On the 3rd floor, they find an open room that begins to light up as they make their way inside. Across from them sits a skeleton dressed in fine wear, peering at a ritual circle in the middle of the room. Hajime steps into the circle seeking answers. It glows as the skeleton develops an illusionary cover of the human it once was, Oscar Orcus, the maverick who built this labyrinth. He congratulates the two on reaching this chamber and reveals that he is only a recording and will do no more than tell them why he and his fellowship did what they did after finding out the truth of this world. Meanwhile, on level 65 of the labyrinth, Amanagawa and his group are ready for round 2 of their fight on the bridge with the behemoth and his skeletal army. They spawn in, but instead of panicking, the group spreads out and does their respective roles in the fight. Attackers go in as mages and supports fulfill their duties, successfully fending off the monster's attack while dishing out their own. Their combined effort successfully defeats the behemoth, and so the skeletons begin to fall apart while the group rallies after their first decisive victory. Back to the MC, the recording begins to bid Hajime farewell. Oscar tells Hajime he will now inherit his powers and hopes that he will not use them for evil. A surge of information rushes through Hajime's head. The Mavericks were in truth liberators, and now he wields a form of ancient magic, creation magic, allowing him to give magic properties to raw materials to create artifacts. The first thing he does is teach Yui how to wield this magic. She learns it but fails to create artifacts herself. The two spend the following days snooping around the mansion. They find a book that informs them of how clearing the rest of the labyrinths will also yield ancient magic, which might help them return home. Later, the duo shares a bath together where Yui expresses her love to Hajime, who is still shy and awkward when confronted with the matter. Using the vast resources inside the mansion, Hajime crafts several tools to aid on their journey: vehicles, weapons, a crystal to replace his eye and an arm, all using the creation magic he learned. After 2 months of prep, Hajime puts ring on Yui, cementing their relationship. The two prepare themselves and finally leave the labyrinth, ready with their unwavering bond to take on whatever the world throws at them, even against the gods that stand in the way of their goal. In the Risen Gorge Canyon, a busty bunny girl finds herself surrounded by dinosaurs while she runs around asking for someone to appear. Just then, Hajime's and Yui's ritual circle appears and the two drop in, scaring the dinosaurs away. They celebrate their successful escape while the two lovers gaze into each other's eyes. Their wholesome moment is ruined by the blabbering bunny beast woman charging their way before falling and getting her head stuck in the ground. They move on and try to ignore the nuisance, but she grabs onto Hajime and begs the two to save her family. Her request falls on deaf ears and the duo continues moving forward. Suddenly, a giant two-headed monster Dehedor returns and stands in front of Hajime, who takes it out with ease, much to the bunny girl's amazement. She introduces herself as Shia, the eldest daughter of the Helia beast tribe. She pleads the two to help her race from being exterminated, and after a lot of begging, they finally agree to look into the matter before she insults Yui's Opai's size as a way inferior to hers and gets blasted to near death for it. Shia was exiled from her tribe for the magic powers she held. Her power to see possible futures is what helped her come to where the duo would appear. She also saw the doom of her tribe on the horizon. The duo agreed to help her on the condition that she helps them navigate the Sea of Trees on their path to the next labyrinth. They reached the Beastman village just in time to save it from a group of flying dinosaurs. Her tribe had left the other Beastman tribes to support Shia after it was revealed that she has a magic similar to monsters, a fact detested by Beastmen who do not wield magic. Her tribe's weakness and lack of magic meant their struggle for survival was an extremely difficult one, but with Hajime and Yui's help, the task was accomplished with ease. Shia offers to join them on their journey, but the two reject firmly. But instead, seeing that none of her tribe are fit for combat, they spend the next few days training them so they are ready to survive. After rigorous training, Shia learns to enhance her physical attributes for combat and asks to join the couple on the journey, once again claiming to be in love with Hajime. Just then, her tribe returns, turned into bloodthirsty killers that know how to fend for themselves, maybe a bit too well. The Beastman tribe leads the couple to the great tree within the Sea of Trees. There, a tablet asks them to present 3 more symbols similar to the ring they got from Oscar, the power of regeneration, and a beacon formed of bonds to unlock the door forward. Knowing what they need, the duo heads for the rest of the labyrinths in search of the other symbols. She recalls a memory of her mother telling her a story about a white shadow that lurks within the Sea of Trees, hidden from all. Moral of the story was to teach her not to fear everything different, and that one day she will meet special and wonderful people just like her. That is why she insists on going along with the couple while keeping it a secret. After she has succeeded in her training with Yui, Hajime allows her to join them, yet he tries to push her away one last time but fails. With a new member in tow, the trio bids the Beastmen's tribe farewell and continues their journey in search of labyrinths. Still in the Risen Gorge, the trio looks for the entrance to the labyrinth. Shia stumbles upon a strange sign, and when they gather around it, a voice echoes and welcomes them to Milady Risen's super-duper exciting labyrinth. There, Shia, by some stupid luck, once again stumbles over the secret entrance. Needless to say, this labyrinth has no lack of traps. Some spikes shoot out the wall, scaring Shia shitless. Aside from physical traps, the voice recording of Milady on its own is a form of torture to their ears. From boulders barreling down a narrow hallway, spinning saws from either side of the walls, a giant bottomless pit, even buckets falling on Shia's head, the maze was level S hazard, yet nothing that 3 adventurers couldn't handle. After a while and a lot of teasing by Milady, they enter a familiar room, the place they started at. After running in circles for a while, they reach a room with a door at the far end and suits of armor decorating the walls on either side. To no one's surprise, the suits begin to move and attack the trio. There's nothing special about them, but they do seem endless, so they rush towards the door and jump through onto a moving block. The block takes them up face to face against a giant iron golem with a smiley face drawn on it, claiming to be Milady Risen. According to Oscar's notes, Milady is as dead as he is, but the golem insists it is Milady. Milady's tone changes from playful to serious as she asks Hajime about his end goal. He tells her that he wishes to return to his world after the god of this world forced him here. Hajime asks her whether the rift crossing ancient magic is in this labyrinth. She returns to her playful speech and refuses to give an answer, which prompts our hero to attack with a missile barrage. Their clash begins. Milody's armor is very thick, which makes it hard to reach the core of the body. Her attacks cover a wide range but are easy to dodge. Hajime delivers a powerful blow that knocks the golem down, giving Yui the chance to freeze it into the ground. Hajime then uses a drill to stick a rod above the golem's core. Shia follows up by smashing her giant hammer on the iron rod, thus penetrating the armor and destroying the core. As the golem's power begins to fade, Milody gives Hajime a warning. Following the path he is currently on, he will eventually face the bastard gods they fought long ago and achieve god killer status. She bids them farewell and good luck on their journey as she disappears. Inside Milody's chamber, the trio finds yet another golem, a small one that Milody uses to greet them again. After a few smacks, she teaches the group gravity magic that only Yui is high enough level to use for now with a bit of training. With a second ring in Hajime's hand and some more valuable recourses squeezed out of her, Milody flushes the group out of the labyrinth back out onto the surface. With Shia drowned, Hajime gives her mouth-to-mouth to revive her, which she takes full advantage. But being the Chad that he is, our boy forcefully removes her and throws her back into the water. The trio, all wet from that experience, make their way to the nearby town inn for the night. Yui and Shia fight over a room with our MC, ending with Shia getting shot for saying out-of-pocket stuff. Inside the Foreign Adventurers Guild, the guild master Ilwa Chang hosts Hajime and his two companions. He had heard of their accomplishment of passing through the Raizen Gorge with ease and wishes to employ them for a request. Hajime declines at first, but is persuaded to hear him out on the condition that their exploits be kept hidden, so they maintain a low profile. His request is to find a missing party that led his survey in the northern mountains, specifically the son of Count Kudeta, Will Kudeta. Hajime accepts in exchange for status plates of their own, as well as the guild master's support if needed. The trio wastes no time and travels towards the last known location of the missing party. Along their way, they make a stop at a village where the teacher of the isekai class named Ai taught the villagers how to plant and maintain rice fields, which the place is now famous for. Hungry for his homeland staple food, Hajime's party reaches the inn where his teacher and few of her students are resting. Before this point, Hajime had been believed to be dead by everyone who knew him before the incident in the labyrinth. However, mention of his name by Yui and Shia, as well as his familiar voice, makes it obvious to Ai, despite his drastic change in appearance. He tried to deny his identity, but his teacher was certain, so he finally admitted it. He gave her very vague answers as to what happened since he was last seen before one of the knights escorting Ai and her students insulted Shia and Yui, which got him a bullet to the shoulder. One of the students listening all this was someone who admired Hajime after he saved her on the bridge where this all started. Before moving on, Hajime made it clear to everyone around that he had cut ties with the group he came to this world with and all those they worked alongside. His goals were his own and none should stand on his way. Later that night, Ai was contemplating her meeting today only to be interrupted by none other than Hajime himself. In private, he reveals to Ai what he has learned so far and why he chose to cut ties with the kingdom. A long time ago, this world was ravaged by endless wars between all three races. The god ruling over them made them believe he was pursuing peace between the humans, demons, and beastmen, while in truth he was the puppet master inciting conflict for his entertainment. The Liberators were a group of people who realized who the cause of all this conflict was and tried to rid the world of their oppressors. However, this god had realized their intentions and turned the church and humanity against them, branding them as traitors. Sworn to protect their people, the Liberators did not fight back. They are the people now known as the Mavericks. The few members that survived the culling had flowed into labyrinths of their creation, waiting for someone capable of completing what they had set out to do. Hajime admitted that he didn't care about the mad god, he only aimed to get the ancient magic necessary to leave this world. Before he left, I told him that the priestess Kaori hadn't given up her search for him, which is when he revealed that what happened to him was no accident, but an attempt to take his life by one of her students, and that left her in shock. The following morning, Hajime's group is stopped by Ai and her students who insist on joining them so that she can hear in detail what's happened. Seeing that refusing won't work, he conjures up a vehicle for all involved and sets off into the mountains. The group makes their way into the mountain in search of the Count's son and one of Ai's students who had wandered off on his own. Using drones he crafted with his relic creation magic, Hajime tracks down the scorched field with obvious marks of battle and a crater left by a giant creature. They press forward towards a human signal further in the mountains behind a waterfall, and inside a cave they find Will Kudeta, the Count's son. Suffering minor injuries, he is delighted to have finally been found. Will tells them of his terrifying experience and how Group was slaughtered by a group of monsters, the worst being a black dragon. Hajime slapped some sense into him and brought him back on his feet. As they made their way beyond the red moon that loomed over them with the sound of impending danger, the same black dragon swoops in and commences its attack on the group. It unleashes a stream of flames that pin Hajime down as he shields his teacher and her students. At that moment, Yui uses Heavenly Blaze to stop the dragon and drops it to the ground. Shia follows up with her hammer attack but fails. Hajime orders Yui to protect the group so that he can focus on offense. The dragon seems to be focused on Will, but the danger Hajime imposes quickly forces it to set its eyes on him. The two duke it out with Hajime obviously in a much stronger position using his vast arsenal. Soon after the dragon falls and Hajime readies the machine he used to penetrate the armor of Milady's golem so that he can finish off the beast. The dragon tries to escape, but Shia's hammer knocks it out. Hajime's knowledge of dragons leads him to believe that the only way to do damage to the beast is by attacking the one place without scales, the butt. Hajime grabs the giant rod and shoves it up the dragon's hole only to be met with feminine screams. The dragon announces that she is a dragon born and will reveal her intentions if the rod that Hajime keeps driving into her colon is removed. He doesn't accept and seeks answers before she can be relieved. The dragon reveals that she was headed to the vicinity to investigate the travelers from another world. While resting on her journey, a man in black robe cast mind manipulation magic on her in her sleep so that she would target and kill Will and his companions. Yui asks Hajime to spare the dragon as the killing was not of her will. The dragon herself begs him to remove the rod since her mana is almost depleted and she will return to human form, which would kill her in that state. With the rod forcibly removed and the dragon reverted into human form with a possible new kink, she reveals her identity to be Tio Claris of the Claris clan of Dragonborn. She warns the group that an army of thousands of monsters led by the man in black robes is headed for the town of Hajime's drones confirm that an army of 60,000 will be upon them in 2 days. His mission only being to save Will, Hajime refuses to face the army or its head figure. As it doesn't concern him, he sets off to return Will home with a new perverted and masochistic dragon born, unfortunately, joining his party. Ai implores her student to help face the army of monsters and save Yura from annihilation. Unable to refuse his teacher's request, Hajime accepts and begins his preparations to halt the assault. Defensive measures are taken, barricades are built, women and children are evacuated, while everyone left to fight eats and rests in preparation for battle. Night falls, and as Hajime cleans his rifle, Sonono approaches and thanks him for saving her life that day on the bridge in the labyrinth. He doesn't think much of it but gives her words of encouragement. A presence of a pervert lurks near as Tio comes out and asks Hajime a question. Tio asks him if his journey will continue after this fight and if she can join him. He refuses without wasting a second, but her masochistic nature takes it as teasing, making her an official member since she simply won't leave. Seeing as how the townsfolk aren't as reliable as necessary and want to give him a minor role, Hajime proclaims to the people in his rallying speech that Ai Sensei is a goddess, meaning their victory is certain and all credit for that should be given to her. Atop the barricade wall, Hajime's group initiates their long-range attacks, each using the most powerful AoE attacks at their disposal. Tiva's attacks are especially powerful, however, her mana runs out quickly, and she helps herself to a nap. With his long-range bullets running low, Hajime and Shia charge in with Yui supporting from the rear. The two begin attacking battalion leaders to throw the army into confusion since only the monsters in charge are under the mind control spell. Their plan succeeds and the army begins to rout after suffering major casualties. Hajime then confronts the man in black robes who he captures and brings back to the town. Ai identifies the mysterious figure as Shimizu, the student who came with her group to Ur but went missing short after. Shimizu had made a contract with a demon he found in the mountains, hoping to gain tremendous power in exchange for Ai's head. She tries to reason with him and help him start over, but Shimizu takes advantage of her compassion and takes her hostage, asking Hajime to surrender his weapons, which is met with a resounding no. Shia's ability to see the future springs her into action as she attempts to block a bullet headed for Shimizu and Ai. The poison needle at Ai's neck makes contact as the bullet grazes Shia and penetrates Shimizu's abdomen. Hajime gives a dose of holy water to his poisoned teacher mouth to mouth because why not, and then heals Shia's wound as he approaches Shimizu. Ai begs him to heal her student. Hajime assesses the situation and Shimizu's intentions before putting him out of his misery, breaking his teacher's heart and telling her that his stance against his enemies does not change regardless of who they are. He and his party along with will depart to conclude their mission. On the way back, his companions realize how Shimizu was too injured to be saved and Hajime merely put him out of his misery as an act of mercy without Ai having to bear the burden of a student dying under her care. They all know Ai is extremely kind but not stupid. She will eventually accept the truth and forgive her dear student. Once again at the guild, Hajime and his companions deliver Will safely to Ilwa, who rewards them with the promised status plates, plus an additional one for their new member. As they all settle in their room for the night, Hajime notices a figure lurking in the alleyways of the town. Watching them, he isn't concerned by their activities, as he is confident that he can challenge even God if he gets in the way of achieving his goal. Hearing his words, Tayo remembers her father's dying words to her, that although their true enemy, God himself is powerful, but someone strong enough will appear one day to slay him and rid the world of his machinations. Those very words and the powerful force calling to her prompted her to seek other worldly visitors outside of her clan's domain, leading her to meet the MC. Hajime and Shia go on to explore the town together, where they stumble upon an aquarium. Inside, they meet a familiar sentient fish, which they pass by while Milady flushed them out of her dungeon. Hajime and Layman hit it off, and after realizing they're the reason he ended up in this mess, they set him free without admitting it. Before Lehman went on his way, he told the two about a gang of slavers who deal with beast folk and how they had a little mermaid in their hands, as well as he tells Shia to be extra careful due to her race as he sets off. On one side of town, Yui and Tio go shopping and bond over their appreciation for their companions. On the other side, Hajime and Shia bond over the fact that they both like Tio, but she's a pervert. Just then, Hajime senses someone under them in the sewers but feels like a weak and small child, so they go down to investigate. Detection of a person proved true as Hajime scoops up a passed-out girl who was kidnapped for auction by underground smugglers. Soon the smugglers realize the girl is missing and begin scouring the town for her. Meanwhile, Hajime and Shia bring the girl to the surface where she regains consciousness. They introduce themselves to Mew and hurry to nurse her back to health with a hot bath and food, before dropping her off with the city guard since their race is protected by the kingdom. Against Mew's wishes, they part ways as she cries for her big bro and big sis. Shortly after, a blast and smoke rise from the same guard post. Hajime and Shia rush back to find the guards dead and writings on the wall, ordering him to give them the bunny girl or Mew dies, which makes it clear to Hajime that these guys are now his enemies. As they rampage through the town, they regroup with Yui and Taiyo, who join them on their hunt for the slavers' hideout. They split up into teams of 2 and purge the whole city of slaver gangs as they look for Mew's location. Meanwhile, the auction begins with Mew at its center. In that moment, Hajime breaks in and puts 3 bullets in the organizer's head, picking up Mew and flying her out to see the fireworks as his companions raze all the slavers' hideouts to the ground. With the little girl now safe, Hajime takes her and regroups with his companions as she gives her hero a new title, Papa. Papa Hajime and his party make their way through a barren rocky land to the outpost town of Dorad. This is where it all started 4 months ago when he was last here with his classmates adventuring to Orcus Labyrinth. The group sits down with the outpost guild leader Lo Voevis, and that is when a guy breaks in to inform Lo that a demon was spotted in the labyrinth. Hajime identifies him as Endo, one of his former classmates. He begs him to come down and save the rest of his classmates that are now faced with the demon. As the hero's party reached the 90th level of the Orcus Labyrinth, they found no monsters in sight, only their blood splatters covering the ground. A red-haired demon lady walked out of the shadows and offered them a chance to join her, as Shimizu did. They declined and engage in combat with her myriads of powerful monsters, a chimera, ogres, and a spell-casting turtle pope. The group fought to the best of their abilities, but the demon's ability to heal the monsters meant they were fighting a losing battle. Their barrier caster was stabbed and seriously injured during the battle, and that is when Kaori's friend Shizuku ordered Endo to use his stealth abilities to flee and tell their captain Meld what had transpired. Endo succeeded in doing this, but the chimera had chased him to the captain's location, so he was ordered to once again flee, but this time to the surface and warn everyone of the demon menace they were facing. On the surface, Endo begs Hajime to save his former classmates despite his feelings for them, while underground the hero Amanagawa and his party manage to flee the demon. Their fear sows doubt between them as Hiyama wishes to join the demon to survive. Captain Meld reaches the hero's party only to be cut down by the demon and her chimera. The captain's death enrages Amanagawa into breaking his limits, killing the demon monsters and forcing her into a corner. However, a trinket of hers forces him to stop as he realizes she is human too. In that moment of hesitation, her pets attack and injure the hero. Shizuku tries to buy them time, but the demon's beasts prove to be too powerful as she also falls. Kaori rushes to save her friend, but with her mana depleted, there is nothing she can do other than to accept her and Shizuku's fate at the hands of 2 giant minotaur. Before the monster's attack lands on the 2 girls, a giant rod penetrates the ceiling and impales both monsters, killing them instantly. The dust of the impact clears as Hajime stands before them. All it took was 1 bullet for the behemoth to perish this time. Hajime and his companion rush through the labyrinth but decide that the fastest route down is a hole in the ground. As Hajime lands in front of his former adventuring group, Kaori instantly recognizes the identity of their rescuer, much to everyone's surprise as he was supposed to be dead. As Yui, Shia, Tio, Mew and Endo fall down and reach the party, monsters rally for another attack. Hajime orders his companions to spread out and protect Amanagawa's party as he single-handedly begins his onslaught against his new enemy forces. He wields his dual revolvers with skill as the monsters drop like flies. Kaori and her friends watch in astonishment as the man they knew as Nagumo Hajime tears through the monster hordes with unprecedented might. The Pope Turtle fires off a beam attack at Hajime, and using a relic shield, he deflects the attack at the demon woman, destroying the bird creature she used to heal herself and her forces. His companions easily fend off any attacks on the injured as the demon makes a last desperate attack against Hajime. She casts Crashing Jail, enveloping him whole. Concerned by what she saw, Miu calls out to her papa, which catches Kaori's ear. The demon makes a run for it, but Hajime blocks her retreat as he shrugs off her magic and walks up to her. He asks her how she got her hands on those monsters, but she refuses to answer, so he puts 2 bullets in her legs, which surprises his former companions. From what little he got from her, Hajime concludes that the monster spawning was a form of ancient magic that was lent by someone she knows. Seeing as how she was no longer any use, he aims to end her life. She warns him that her lover will seek revenge. As Amanagawa tries to convince him that she is no longer a threat, Hajime doesn't think twice before he puts a bullet in her skull. Hiyama saw what happened as panic sets in. With Captain Meld stabilized, everyone involved gathers around. Kaori can't believe Hajime is still alive and breaks down into tears while leaning on him as Yui and Shia stare with murderous intent. They all make their way back out of the labyrinth while Amanagawa and Hajime's moral compasses collide over the killing of the demon. Hajime makes it clear that he has no ties here anymore and will kill anyone who stands in his way, even them. He tells him that he did this because he owed Kaori, and once they're out, it's goodbye forever. After they reach the surface, Kaori gathers up her courage to confess her love to Hajime and her desire to join his party. He turns her down since his only love is Yui, but she still insists on tagging along to eventually win him over. Yui accepts her challenge and allows her to join to prove that she is Hajime's one true love. Kaori is now an official member of Hajime's party. After a bit of strangling over the papa's business, he tells her to get ready for their departure. The next day, Kaori bids farewell to Shizuku and the rest of her former companions as Hajime conjures a jeep with a car full of odd characters fighting for his love. Hajime and his companions set off to find a way back to his world, allowing nothing, not even God, to stand in their way.